Terminator Dark Fate. You killed my childhood. You killed it. You ate it like the little piggy that you are. You put it in your mouth and you swallowed it. Well, I hope you leave enough room for my fist because I'm going to ram it in your stomach and break your goddamn spine. Okay.
No, look, I'm usually not one for the, this film killed my childhood. I kind of find those things a little bit silly. But I'm not going to lie, there is a part of this film that really bothered me and kind of fucked me up. And I don't really know how to, here's what I'm going to do. I saw Terminator Dark Fate, so I'm going to quickly review the movie, and I'll make this spoiler-free, and then I'll talk about something where I do need to spoil the film, so heads up for that. But for now, I saw Terminator Dark Fate, and if you don't know this about me yet, I am a huge, huge Terminator fan. Terminator 1, one of the best horror movies of all time. Terminator 2, a lot of people call this like the greatest action movie of all time, but to me, that's not even giving it justice. I think this is one of the best movies ever, like ever. So, yeah, it's it does have great action. I mean, the T-1000, the CGI effects, the car chases, the LA River stuff. But really, what makes it such a great film is really the story and the characters. It's really a morality tale. And the idea, Sarah Connor says it best at the end, if a machine can learn the value of human life, maybe we can too. It's one of my favorite endings in all films. And since then, all of the subsequent Terminator films have been okay at best, and some of them are really bad. And going into Terminator Dark Fate, I don't know why I went to see it. I think I saw Linda Hamilton was in it, so I'm like, oh, Linda Hamilton's in it, maybe I will go see it. And me and my friend Arthur, we used to do the Schwarzenegger and Stallone series together. We decided, let's just go see it. We know it's going to be bad. We can laugh about it. And it wasn't quite as terrible as I thought it was going to be. I mean, it could have been. Well, there's one thing that happened. Again, I'll talk about that in a minute. But I can kind of sum it up like this. After this initial part happens, as the movie begins, it's pretty good. Like, it's not great, but it's like, okay, this is kind of a fun action scene. It's got that Jim Cameron tense quality to it, and we're enjoying it on that basis. Then it kind of dives into some boringness and a little bit of melodrama that doesn't really seem to have much of a point. And then eventually Arnold comes in, and it's laughably bad. I mean, it goes from being bad to so bad that Arthur and I were just laughing at how bad it was. I mean, Arnold is still Arnold. You got to love Arnold. He's got a lot of one-liners. He's got quips and kind of in the same way that Terminator 3 talk to the hand, that kind of stuff. But, it's like, whatever, it's Arnold, and it's, we know this movie's not going to be very good, so fine. As far as, and then later on, without spoiling the end of the film, you've seen the end of the film. It's the same ending we've seen over and over. You saw it in Terminator 1. You saw it in Terminator 2. It's just like, it's just, sorry, I just muted. This is my first time live streaming. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's the same ending we've seen in Terminator 1, Terminator 2, Terminator 3, Terminator Genisys. I hate that film. I don't remember how Salvation ends. I barely remember. All I remember is Christian Bale freaking out on the set, which is fantastic. So as far as like the new characters, they're okay. You've got Gabriel Luna. He's the new T-1000, or sort of like a melding between the T. If you've seen the trailer, you know what he does. And let me just look up. I have some notes here, meaning I just looked it up on Wikipedia. Natalia Reyes, she's basically kind of the new John Connor, the person they need to protect, who's going to have an impact on future events. Again, same thing that happens in all of these Terminator films. A machine is sent back in time to kill somebody, and a protector is sent back in time to protect them. It's the same formula, same thing. And the protector character is Mackenzie Davis. And what they did with her was kind of interesting. I kind of liked, like, when she's fighting the Rev 9, I think it's called. Like, that was actually a good scene. Like, Mackenzie Davis definitely has, like, a great physical presence. Probably more so than even, like, the TX and T3. But it kind of gets bogged down in this melodrama that's, kind of whatever. It is fun seeing Linda Hamilton back as Sarah Connor. And she does have a couple good lines, but it just kind of looks like she really doesn't want to be there. I don't know. I think Linda, they gave her a paycheck, and that was kind of it. And Arnold is Arnold. I mean, it's like, I can't really, from a superficial, objective, critical analysis, I can't say this film is that bad. It's just kind of generic. If you've seen, it probably isn't even as bad as Terminator Genesis or Terminator Salvation. It feels like a better film than that. It feels like a more competently made film, but I don't know. It just feels like you're not adding anything new to the story that's worthwhile. Effects wise, it's fine. There's one, I need to get in spoilers to talk about it, but there's one really incredible de-aging thing that I found really, really good. But I would say it would be a thumbs down for me. Not really. I pretty much knew that going in. I just went in because, I'm kind of a sucker for, pain. So that's kind of that. But anyway, get to the point of the, what this, did this film kill my childhood? Well, I mean, look, killing someone's childhood is kind of stupid when you think about it. I mean, look, I still have this movie. I can watch it anytime I want. So, no matter what they do, I have the Star Wars trilogy. Like, whatever people say about, I hated the prequels. I'm okay with the newer films, but some people were just freaking out about them. And I'm like, you can still go see it. But this is the first time that I was like, you know what? I may finally know what people are talking about with this particular film. And it really, I think, disrespects the first two movies. So with that being said, you've heard my spoiler-free section. So this is spoilers. I'm going to spoil the movie. If you want to see the movie, then stop watching right now, and you can watch the rest of this later. If you don't care about this film and don't want to see it, I recommend you don't see it. If you're a big Terminator fan, if you just want to watch a generic action of robots attacking each other, you'll probably get what you want. But so here we go. Spoilers, you've been warned. Okay, I knew going into this, I had a pretty good idea right from the get-go that John Connor, played, of course, by Eddie Furlong, was going to die in this movie. I pretty much, there was rumors that this was going around. I was trying to avoid all spoilers, but I kind of had a pretty good idea that's probably what they were going to do with it. And I was curious, like, well, how would they do that? I mean, is Eddie actually going to be in the film? Is he going to reprise his role? Is he going to die in some heroic way? And Natalia Reyes will kind of take the reins as like the new leader of the human resistance. How is this going to happen? Well, here's how it happens if you haven't seen the film. Within the first 5 minutes, there's a scene where Linda Hamilton talks about how she always knew that Judgment Day was going to happen. And they show at the very beginning a clip of her in Dr. Silverman's office from Terminator 2, which is really the best part of the film. And then it goes, you see a scene of them in like 1998. So this is after Judgment Day is 1997. I know, laugh all you want, but it's 1998. Judgment Day didn't happen. They're chilling on a beach. Now, this scene, like in terms of the de-aging process, like you see Linda Hamilton and she looks exactly like she did in T2. Whatever CGI they used to make them look like this, and Eddie Furlong looks a little young. I feel like it should be like how Eddie looked in the Terminator 2 ride, but nitpicking at this point. Believe me, there's worse coming. But it was really well done. And then Arnold comes in and he looks young. So props to the CGI animators for making a really convincing scene. But man, does it piss me off right then and there, because John Connor gets killed. Arnold walks in with a shotgun. He pulls it up. John Connor looks up, and he gets shot in the chest. And there's a little bit of a skirmish between Sarah Connor and the Terminator, but it's too late. John Connor has died from a shotgun to the chest in the first 5 minutes of the film while he's hitting on some girl at a bar. Man, that definitely put a sour taste in my mouth from the get-go. And I remember looking over to Arthur. I'm like, well, I guess the first two films are pointless now, because the whole point of Terminator 1 is that Sarah Connor is the mother of the leader of the human resistance. That's why she needs to stay alive. In Terminator 2, John Connor's been born, and they spend the entire film protecting him. He has to live. So it's like, well, then what was the point of those first two movies? What was the point of them? It's like, what was the point? So, and it's like, oh, we're now Natalia Reyes is taking up the reins, and like, I'm sure she's a really good actor. I'm sure she's nice and everything, but she was pretty bad in this film. I mean, there's a flashback scene to when she's doing like a John Connor-esque thing, saying, we can stand and fight and all this stuff. It's pretty bad. I mean, it's pitiful, really. I mean, we were laughing at how bad it was. But so, like, that was the one thing about the film that made me angry. Like, the rest of the film, I was like, it's such a pointless, harmless film. Whatever. I mean, what they did in Terminator Genesis was stupid. They killed Sarah Connor off in Terminator 3. Who cares? So, we went out, we had dinner, and I went home and worked on some stuff. I worked on the history of rock stuff that I'm working on. And I don't know what happened. As I thought about it more, it bothered me more, because you're watching a teenager, first of all, get shot in the chest, which I'm not against that in movies if there's a point to it. But this isn't just any kid. This is John Connor. And I thought about it, because I'm like, why is this bothering me? Like, this is legitimately bothering me. Has this finally happened? Have I, like, how everybody, like, when Star Wars The Last Jedi came out and everybody was just freaking out about, whoa, what you did to Luke Skywalker. That didn't bother me. Well, my dad was dying at the time, so I didn't really have much of a problem for that. But I think back to when I saw Terminator 2, and I saw Terminator 2 before I saw Terminator 1, I was 6 years old. 6 years old. Now, you probably think, well, that's too young to see Terminator. And even Terminator 1, my dad had to edit the film down until it was like, I think it was like 40 minutes. Like, the famous scene where he goes in the police station and he goes, "I'll be back." And then it cuts to something else. I'm like, well, what happened? But, Terminator 2, it was such if you weren't there, you don't understand how big of a film this was. This was the Marvel film of its time. And I really thought about this. I was talking with somebody about this. When you really think about it, because that film came out in 1990, and I saw it either in 1991 or 92. There's something about that time. I wrote a song on the One Last Stand album called 1991. There's something about that time that brings, it must have been a very formulating, in my subconscious, or just, I don't know, there must have been something about those formative years that I really took notice of. But Terminator 2 was a big part of that. And really, again, what I was saying about the morality tale, it's like, this really is about, it's not just a movie of robots killing each other. Duking it out. It's a movie about, the value of human life, about, I mean, that great scene when John says, okay, just put up your hand and say, I swear I won't kill anyone. I swear I will not kill anyone. And it makes for some fun moments later on, but it's like, wow, that's interesting for an action film to basically say we're talking about nonviolence. I mean, because, and John Connor is basically, he's basically the moral compass of the film. Linda Hamilton, Sarah Connor, has kind of lost her humanity, and she's willing to do whatever she can to stop the nightmare of Judgment Day. There's that incredible scene where she goes to Joe Morton's house and almost kills him, and she stops, and John has to say, we got to do it another way. And yeah, it's just like, John Connor really represented a lot in that film. And when you can look at him as like, oh, he's just kind of a punk kid, and maybe, Eddie is an actor. He's kind of a little whiny, and he's got a little, his voice is changing and stuff. But I really think he deserves a lot of credit, because, when you're 6 years old and you see a kid like that, who's, he's swearing, and he's, fighting robots, and he's driving a motorcycle, he seems empowered. It's like, everybody talks about empowerment for so many things. It's like, this is like, as a child, you feel empowered. You're like, wow, man, John, yeah, it's great to see Arnold. We love Arnold. He's great. And we love Linda Hamilton and Kyle Reese and all those guys. But seeing a kid like John Connor doing all those things as a kid, you're like, wow, that's so cool. And he's still got the snarky attitude. He's still like, hasta la vista, baby. And then, the relationship he and the Terminator have, it's so good. And the sacrifice at the end of Terminator 2, everybody talks about the end of that movie when, Arnold's like, I know now why you cry, but it's something I can never do. And he's lowered into the molten steel, and Brad Fiddel's score comes in, and it's such an emotional moment, and John's crying, and you just realize the sacrifice that they've made to save the future. It's, oh my God, God, I love that movie so much. And for this movie, it has no heart, it has nothing, it's just a Hollywood cash grab, to see them in the first 5 minutes just blow John Connor away with a shotgun blast, and seeing him lying there dead, it was heartbreaking to see, really. And I'm like, I don't understand it. He's just a fictional character, What? But it really does represent something to me. I don't know what it is. I think it, I actually mentioned somebody to this, and when you really think about it, and I'm not really a super religious person, but Terminator 1 and 2 is almost kind of, John Connor is almost like the Messiah. When you think about it, he's foretold when Reese goes back to protect Sarah Connor that she's going to give birth to the savior of humankind to stop them from the machines. And he's the moral compass. He's the one who says, the same things that, they've said in, many of the religions, be kind to each other, don't kill each other, all great messages. And Terminator has that message, a movie about a killer cyborg, to have a movie about nonviolence. And then you just kill this character. But more importantly, you replace it with nothing. He didn't sacrifice himself for something noble. At least in The Last Jedi, spoilers if you haven't seen The Last Jedi, yeah, there's a whole thing about Luke, and Luke's lost his humanity and whatever. But at the end of the film, he still sacrifices himself for, so that everybody else can get away. Basically, the equivalent of what happens in Dark Fate in Star Wars is if they went back in time and killed Luke Skywalker before the events of the first Star Wars film, so that he doesn't get to fulfill his importance, what it is he's going to do. It's like John Connor's been foretold that he's the guy who's going to, there's one man who taught us to fight and to smash those metal motherfuckers into junk. And he doesn't get to do that. He just goes out without being able to fulfill his purpose. And there really does feel like I felt like, I don't feel like that movie specifically took anything away from me. I just felt like it represented a loss of something. And I've gone through some horrible loss over the past couple of years, but I think there is just kind of a loss of this time when Terminator 2 was a new movie. It was original. It was real things with real people and real ideas. And also a time when, God, 1991. I mean, God, what was going on in 1991? Nirvana came out. Pearl Jam, all this great music came out. Nickelodeon had Ren and Stimpy and Doug and all those things. I mean, Goodfellas had come out in 1990. So many things. I mean, God, it was it seems like it was such a different time, and now here we are in 2019, and I don't know, the whole landscape has changed, and a lot of it you can kind of feel in this movie. It's like, it feels very artificial. There's a whole subtext of them saying, like, Sarah Connor says, you're going to be the womb of the future. And it's like, you're not the womb of the future. You are the future. And I get what you're trying to go for. I appreciate it. But I'm like, I don't think you really get what was important about John Connor and Terminator 1 and 2 in the first place. There is no fate but what we make for ourselves. They say it in the film, but what does it mean? And it's so weird, man. It really bothered me. It really seriously bothered me, to the point where, like, I even, went to my girl and I just said, you ever get a feeling sometimes where you feel like you have no purpose left in life? I'm getting really philosophical about this for, just a Terminator film. But no, it really was one of those films that made me kind of question what's going on in the world, but not in a good way, not in, like, Apocalypse Now or something like that, which is dark, but it's dark for a purpose. I just, God, it just really bothered me a lot. And I still see that image. And I mean, I guess props to them if that's the kind of response they wanted. But I just feel like it just shits on these two movies, these two, masterpieces of cinema. I mean, this is art as far as I'm concerned. Anybody who says, back when they said, movies can't be art, I mean, and people think of art as like, well, an action film can't be. These films are art. These are Jim Cameron's masterpieces. They're so incredibly well made. It's such great storytelling. And in this one moment, in this one film, you just take that all away. So, yeah, I mean, as Arnold said, I'll live, but oh my God, it really bothers me the more and more I think about it. And it makes me sad. So bottom line, I can't recommend this film. I really would say, if you are a big fan of the Terminator franchise, don't see it. Just don't. Because, go see, go see a film that, watch my Elements video. I always, I'm very happy that a lot of people have watched it and, have posted a lot of really nice comments and stuff like that. But it's kind of like, sometimes I look at it and I think it's up to 400 views right now, which is great. I love that I got 400 views on it. But then it's like my Nostalgia Critic video, which is 40 minutes of me sitting on this couch just watching another person's video, a video that a lot of people don't like, has 40,000 views. So I got is 100 times more views than the thing that I spent a year working on. So I would just say, go see a new film, go see an independent film. Yeah, man, I'll take a quick look at some comments here. What do we got? Max says, just like Alien 3, when Newt and Hicks, it was just so pointless, completely ruins T2. Somebody else said that. That's a great point. It's the same kind of thing. It's like, what's the point? Couldn't they have done something? Couldn't have John Connor either gone out in a heroic fashion, or they could have even made it that he's become a real dark figure and his own darkness takes him over. Like, that would have been a little more interesting. But just the way he goes out, can't wait for History Rock the 90s. Thanks, Max. Appreciate that. I saw a trailer that said the best Terminator since TF2. I'm kind of one of the few guys who doesn't mind Terminator 3. I mean, I wish it hadn't been made. In fact, I actually met Arnold Schwarzenegger when Terminator 3 came out. And back then, the internet, there wasn't a whole lot to look up on the internet at the time. So I remember telling him, hey, I was looking up, I was, a teenager. I'm like, hey, I was looking up about Terminator 3. He's like, you were looking, how do you know? He was very, very nice. Really nice guy, Arnold. He's just like, yeah. And I, of course, always remember he was about to get out of the check stand. He had like 15 protein drinks and nothing else. And Maria was with him, Maria Shriver, his wife. And at some point, you just hear him in the middle of the supermarket go, Maria! And Maria comes around the corner with her groceries just going, Tender Freak says it was a good movie. There are good things about it. I mean, it's a competently made film. There's some good action scenes. There's a couple of good performances. I like seeing Linda Hamilton. There's one part where Arnold has basically he has a job as an interior decorator. And he's talking, I don't remember what he's saying. He's just like, so there was this one guy, he told me, I'm going to have, mono curtains. And I told him, no, you have to have a pattern on the curtains. And it was really funny. I mean, Arthur and I were laughing our asses off. But at the same time, we're like, is this pushing a little too far? We're kind of getting into the T3 category. I'm telling you, the whole stuff with Arnold was laughably bad. So there are things to like about the film, but that one moment just really soured the film. And even without that moment, it's just a pointless film. If you just want to see generic action, you'll get your generic action, but I didn't like it. And then I think what else do I have? The copy pasta was much from the other film. Story was horribly written, and they ham-fisted a ton of lazy parallels to real-world issues. Well, I mean, I appreciated going into world issues. I mean, hell, the movies are about, machines taking over. I mean, that's pretty much already happened. I mean, Terminator kind of foretold the what was going to happen in the future. I mean, I remember a story that was on, reading this on Facebook that said there was like an AI that became self-aware and started teaching itself its own language, and they pulled the plug in it. And everybody was like, oh my God, it's Skynet. But there are some interesting commentaries, like, there's a whole thing about the wall in Mexico, and, it was like, Arthur and I looking at each other like, well, this shows you how, pointless that wall is. But I mean, there is some good commentary here. It just, in a better film, it would have been better. So yeah, I think the writing was pretty lazy. It wouldn't be one of my videos if there weren't a couple comments about the history of rock. Hopefully the history of rock can expose me to rock music past 90, 91, because I don't like grunge. You're going to have a hard time with that, but yes, it's going to go past 90. We got to go through the whole decade. This has nothing to do with Terminator. But anyway, so I should probably stop this video right now. I mean, comment below. Let me know what you thought of the film. If you do want to talk about the spoiler section, maybe put spoilers in your comment and then leave a little bit of space and then put it below just so people aren't spoiled in the discussion. But yeah, I would say that stupid for John line, but I mean, you couldn't even had Arnold say something fun at the end of it. No, hasta la vista, baby. Even in Terminator 3, when he goes, you are terminated. It's like, give him something. Don't let him just go out like that. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. I will be putting out something about history of rock this week. Something about grunge. Sorry, Mr. Orwell. And until then, I will return momentarily.